Find the lowest price on your next flight. Let one of our SmartFares expert travel agents find ridiculously low prices for you. Call SmartFares today and get the best price on your next flight. Guaranteed. Also, save up to 50% off business and first class tickets.
855-325-1820. 855-325-1820. That's 855-325-1820. Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500. Stop worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now to learn more. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. 800-240-4587. That's 800-240-4587.
Why have thousands of aspiring authors teamed up with Christian Faith Publishing to publish their book? Because Christian Faith Publishing is an author-friendly publisher who understands that your labor is more than just a book. We provide authors freedom and flexibility throughout the publishing process, professional book editing, award-winning design, and some of the highest royalty structures in the publishing industry. And as always, you will retain 100% of the rights to your book.
I was looking to find a company that I could trust, one that assisted in the editing process completely.
The most important qualities that I was looking for was a publisher who was honest and upfront, no hidden costs or fees, and owning the rights to my own work.
Christian Faith Publishing will publish, market, and sell your books in all major bookstores, online booksellers, as well as specialty Christian bookstores. Call for your free author submission kit.
800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. 800-978-4812. That's 800-978-4812.
Here's important new information from the Diabetes Solution Center for you, a family member, or a loved one suffering with diabetes. If you have lost your provider, or if you need a provider for diabetic supplies, you may qualify to receive your diabetic testing supplies now with little or no out-of-pocket cost, regardless of your age. All you need is Medicare or private insurance to be potentially eligible. Call the Diabetes Solution Center right now for details. Just takes a couple of minutes. Our friendly, knowledgeable agents will give you free, no-obligation information, handle all the insurance paperwork, and make sure your supplies are delivered directly to your door for free.
Call U.S. Medical Supply 24 hours a day. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. 800-597-9323. Call right now. 800-597-9323.
Hello, hello.
Hey, Sonia.
We're back. Yay.
A common thread.
Yes, I'm Sonia V.
And I'm Eva Iguaran.
Welcome to Common Thread.
The wins, the losses, and the curveballs.
And the curveballs.
I'm Eva Iguaran.
Yes, ma'am. Well, how have you been?
I have been pretty good. I got to do a 20-mile bike ride this morning.
Wow.
Yeah, so my legs are nice and sore.
I'm sure. Okay. Who's better than you? I know, 20 miles, that's a lot. So.
That was a warm-up.
That was a warm-up. So anyway, lots been going on, right? In the world. Last week we had a guest, but this was a topic that was on my heart to talk about. What happened in, correct me if I'm wrong, is it Kerr or Kerr or Kerr?
I think it's Kerr.
Kerr County, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, happened on July 4th. Just what, not even 2 weeks ago.
In the early hours of the morning.
Right, like around what, between 4 and 6 in the morning. Yeah. It was a catastrophe by all means. And it was tragic. And lots of people lost their lives. It says here that, because I'm not an expert and my mind fails me at times, my 52-year-old brain fails me. So I got to write things down so I don't forget. But it says here that the Guadalupe River surged 26 feet in just 45 minutes, causing devastation while most residents were still asleep. And a lot of people died. Over 130 people died statewide, with more than 106 deaths in Kerr County alone. As of mid-July, over 100 people remain missing. So that's scary that something like that could happen instantaneously. We don't plan these things. Obviously, we don't know when we're going to take our last breath. And it kind of, for me at least, it helps me put things into perspective about my life, because I don't know. I drive to work every day and I drive for a living. I mean, that's not what I do for a living. I go and see patients and families. And so I'm on the road a lot. And so I do a lot of praying when I'm on the road because I don't know. So, but our hearts go out to the families, of course, of those that experienced the loss of a loved one. And lots of kids passed away. It doesn't give me that number here, but I know there were a lot of children because it was a camp, a girls' camp.
Still, there's so many missing. I remember just kind of listening and watching it unfold, the whole story, and Enrique and I were just pretty broken about each little news flash that was coming to our phones. So I can't even imagine the parents. I know it was more than campers involved. I know there was so many different people, but I know that they focused on the camp just because of the number, because I believe that what I read was that there was like 750 campers in that one camp alone. And that there was several camps along the Guadalupe River in that area. So it wasn't just one camp, it was many camps affected. But that camp in particular had 750 campers.
Wow.
Just for, and Enrique and I sent Audrey off to camp just a few weeks ago. So I understand, like, every single day that your child is gone, you're like anticipating when they'll return, and you're questioning, like, should I have sent them to camp? Is this going to be a good experience? And not everybody does have a good experience. Some people, are waiting the news when their kid gets back. And a lot of these camps, like, I was thinking about this happening and like the warnings and the cell phones and stuff, but a lot of kids wouldn't have had their phone. In fact,
Right.
most of the kids wouldn't have had their phone, even to get like a text, hey, we're praying for you. Are you doing okay? Even throughout the week when Audrey was gone, we didn't get updates on how she was doing or how she was feeling, because that's part of the camp experience, to leave your phone at home.
Well, even if they had their phones, though, I mean, being there, the connection might not always be the best. I remember with my son, because I've already had a loss in my life, so I'm always hypersensitive to things like this, especially. But I know all parents worry about their kids, obviously. But he didn't go. He went to his first camp. I think he was 12 or 13. And my concern was, although he's a good swimmer, I was concerned that they're going to be in rivers or ponds or lakes or whatever. And I was like, oh gosh, can he wear something on his arms to protect him? And so, and I don't remember, I didn't get those calls either. I don't think he brought his phone. I'm not sure. But it was definitely a concern and a worry for me. And when he came home, it was such a relief for me.
And even the strongest swimmer, because, my oldest daughter became a lifeguard, but she was pretty petite. But I wouldn't say even that she's a lifeguard, that she's still a very strong swimmer.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, pools I mean, both are scary when they drown, but with the pool, it's clear, right?
Mhm.
But lakes are murky
Mhm.
and you can't see.
Mhm.
And so that's always a scary experience for any parent, even if your kid is a strong swimmer.
Yeah, so we send our kids, away expecting
Them to
that
come home.
for them to come home. And
And
so
s-
I can't imagine as the parents were hearing the news of this county. Wait, what county? I would have been asking, wait a second, what county did I send my kid to camp? Because the camp where my daughter attends, I don't know the county.
Right, right.
I would have had to look that up.
Yeah, me too. Unless it was like in Tarrant or
Mhm,
Downton, I
mhm.
probably wouldn't know myself.
So I can't imagine the parents getting the news.
I
And still so many do not have answers
yeah.
to the details of that morning. I listened to so many stories. One of the stories that I remember, the camp director, I think from Mystic, his name was Dick, um, and he lost his life in this whole situation, and he had been a director for years. But I believe he did die trying to rescue quite a few of the campers. So just hearing those stories of those basically heroes to put your life on the line. Another story that just really touched me, and it was like, oh wow, someone was camping, a family was camping near the river. They had sent their two daughters to grandma and grandpa's just down a few homes, like it wasn't far away. So when the storm came, the mom and dad were in a panic. So he got on a little canoe, tried to get to grandma and grandpa's house, and had to turn around because he said he knew that he was going to die if he went any further. Like the water was just that rough and bad. And so they lost grandma, grandpa, and both kids to my knowledge.
I did hear that story.
To my knowledge. And I just can't imagine the panic, the fear, the desperation he had to be feeling in those moments because he knew where the house was. He just couldn't get to them. So he couldn't save them.
Yeah, and I can imagine how I can imagine how he must be feeling because he wanted to save them. But
It's a nightmare. Like the whole thing is just a living nightmare. And it's only minutes we're talking about, or maybe a couple hours. I don't know. Another hero that I wanted to mention, let me see if I can find his name. I think I have the names here actually. So two actually that I wanted to mention, Silvana Garza and Maria Paula Zarate, 19-year-old Camp Mystic counselors. They calm their young girls, their group of girls. And to me, this is crazy, but these counselors, because my daughter was a counselor, right, at a camp, and they're adults, they're young adults. But they wrote the names of their girls on their bodies. I'm like, what movies were they watching to do that? But these girls in the crazy moment thought to do that.
wow.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
The news wants to point out, and you can tell by their names, that they are two Hispanic girls that rescued quite a few of these young girls. Dick Eastland was his name.
Okay.
The director and co-owner of Camp Mystic.
Hmm.
Also a hero. And my favorite, and I'm still like, whoa. Scott Ruskin, a 26-year-old Coast Guard rescue swimmer. Now I'm starting to think, how many rescue swimmers are in the area? Because I want to meet them.
Hmm.
because this man alone, it says this Coast Guard saved 165 lives during his first rescue mission.
Wow.
So there were quite a few people who were calling in needing help. Either they were in their car and floating down the river, getting on top of their car, asking for
Even
help.
during this tragedy?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Oh, wow.
There were many cars. There was a whole trailer park that disappeared. There was a trailer park. I don't know how many trailers, maybe, I'm just putting out numbers, maybe 20. I don't know. It was a whole trailer park that all of the trailers lifted up off their wheels and floated down the river. There were people.
And this guy that you're talking about, he's a rescue swimmer?
A rescue swimmer.
So how many did he save during
It
this
says
time?
it said 165.
What?
Just in this one incident.
Wow.
He's also the only triage the only triage coordinator on the scene, and he continued his rescue efforts for 7 hours.
Wow.
We're talking about cold water. So I'm imagining that he had access to a helicopter where they drop the rescuer down.
Right.
They must have dropped Scott down into the water to rescue these different people. And I'm also imagining that it was very dark.
Mm.
So maybe you're only hearing where people are. I'm sure they got big beam flashlights.
Right.
But
wow.
Ruskin was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross for his actions. That's 165 lives. So now I feel like as a swimmer, I feel like I need to go get certified to be a rescue swimmer.
I need to learn how to swim first. I don't think I would have made it if I were there. That would have been, I think for me, besides being shot or killed by somebody, I think drowning would be probably the worst kind of death for me.
The scariest, yeah.
Because I feel like you're suffocating, and it's not a quick death.
Mm-hmm.
So you're feeling that,
right.
and so that's scary.
I wanted to mention another story that I remember. I'm telling you, I was listening every hour for the last few days because you kept on hearing the numbers change. Like this many people, they've confirmed this child, this girl, and I would see their faces. One lady got on their news to talk about her husband, and they were trapped inside their trailer. They had 2 kids. Sounds like one was maybe 2, and maybe one was, I shouldn't even be saying ages, but 2 young children. And they were stuck inside the trailer. The door wouldn't open because we're talking about the water pressure. You can't open the door when there's like even a foot of water. You probably can't even open your door. So he smashed out a window to help them get out of the trailer because the trailer is, I imagine, floating away. So he knocked out the window, but in the process, he cut a main artery.
Oh no.
And he bled to death. And so
oh boy.
His wife is left to raise those 2 kids alone.
Oh, I thought it was going to be a happy ending.
Mm-mm. There were I did hear a lot of great stories. They found someone in a tree, I think a girl in a tree. And of course they found many others, but because like I said, this one guy alone saved 165 lives.
It's amazing to me. That sounds like
and he kept going for 7 hours. That's what I'm saying. How many rescuers? Like now I feel like hopefully the story will inspire some people to become rescue swimmers. It's definitely inspired me. I'm like, how many more lives could have been saved?
Yeah.
If you had those skills. But he had some skills, and all I could say is praise God that one man did that.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
That is amazing. Well, I'm seeing a common thread. I'm going to throw that in there. Common thread is people coming together to rescue people. I'm sure that guy that saved 165 people wasn't thinking, about the people he was saving, their religious beliefs, their political beliefs. He just went in there.
Color of their skin.
Color of their skin.
How much money they make.
How much money they make. None of that mattered. At that point, he was there to save lives because lives matter. People matter, no matter where they come from, what they look like, what they believe, what their political beliefs are, what their religious or lack thereof. None of that matters when you're saving a life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you heard those stories, and I love stories. I think that we can really learn a lot about humanity and how we can come together in tragedy.
Yeah, I kept on hearing about like the amount of water. Some say 28 feet, some say 30,
I think here it says, well, on this one it said 26, but
some say
yeah.
in an hour, some say in 2. Either way, somebody has the exact statistic out there, and it was a lot of water. I saw a video that somebody did a clip where it actually, my husband's cousin is a pastor in Kerrville of the
Oh,
Seventh-day
wow.
Adventist Church.
Oh, wow.
So he came out, I think, the day after with his young girls. He also has girls that are this camping age that we heard about. He came out and did a video, and he showed a bridge, and the water was over that bridge. And that
Wow.
looked like a 35-foot bridge, but the water was up and over it. And then there's videos that you can see that have been posted of the water creeping up on that road. And it just kept getting higher and higher and higher. They did like a time lapse of how the bridge just
Wow.
got covered. So if you're on the underside of that bridge, you're used to taking your kids to play down there and just like throw pebbles in the river. And now you see the height of that bridge and how it was absolutely covered.
Oh my gosh.
That
That sounds
just
so scary.
gave perspective when he
Right.
showed that video and showed the height of that bridge that was completely covered.
A lot of people came together after this tragedy. It says emergency crews rescued over 850 people, not including all these other people that rescued on their own, like this gentleman that you mentioned. And the search for missing people is still continuing. It says the flooding destroyed homes, separated families, and left entire communities in mourning and turmoil. Community response was immediate and deeply unified. Local churches and centers provided shelter, meals, and emotional support. Volunteers from nearby towns and other states arrived to help with rescue cleanup and donations. Daily prayer vigils and mourning ceremonies brought people of all backgrounds together. Animal rescue groups coordinated to save and rehome displaced pets, and special volunteer centers were set up to organize and direct search and rescue operations. I'm a chaplain, and there's different types of chaplains, and one is emergency and trauma chaplains. They're called in events like this. So I'm sure it doesn't mention it here, but I'm sure that they were called as well to offer emotional and spiritual support. But it looks like to me that in all the things that were listed here, and I'm sure there are many other things, that people came together. That is the common thread. And why does tragedy bring people together? You would think, because I was thinking the same thing. Part of my job is to do funerals, and it seems like a lot of the time people get together when there's funerals, but for some reason when we're alive, we don't really get together as much as we would like to or should. I don't like saying the word should, but we're going to use it in this case. And it's kind of sad that we don't, but the blessing in it is that when we are going through stuff, we can count on people, even strangers, to come and walk alongside us. So,
Yeah, I wanted to mention the Gideon Rescue. They're a group that goes out to big disasters, and they have the equipment, the large equipment that helps them lift debris, lift cars, lift whatever needs to be
wow.
lifted. So their ministry, Gideon Rescue, is to rescue people, hearts. Also, it's a Christian organization. So they will not only go in to clean and pick up the debris, but they also will take material to kind of share the hope of Jesus
Mhm.
during those times.
Mm. I love that. I love that. You know, I think we're like, and it may sound like I'm repeating myself, but the name of this show is A Common Thread. And I see the common thread in when there's tragedy. And this is not the first tragedy that this has happened. Specifically, I'm going to name one that, or of course, if you don't know, then I'm sure most people know, even if you weren't alive back then, was September 11th in 2001. With the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, the plane that went down in Pennsylvania. I was actually in New York when that happened. I'm from there, and I was working actually near the Empire State Building. And interestingly enough, I was walking up towards Fifth Avenue. And when I got there, and everybody had stopped, and nobody stops to look at stuff in New York. We're too busy to do that there. But I was like, okay, I saw smoke. You can see it from where we were. And it may seem kind of far from 34th Street down to downtown Manhattan, but you could see it. I asked the lady, what happened? And she was like, well, a plane hit the World Trade Center. Well, at that time, we didn't know it was a terrorist attack. So, stood there, looked for a minute, and we thought, well, maybe it was an accident of some sort. Plane lost control, whatever. And it happened. Anyway, we found out later, of course, that wasn't the case. And then when I got to my building, we heard that the second plane hit. But the amazing thing about that was that firefighters from all over the country, and I'm sure maybe even police officers, rescue teams, came from all over the country. It didn't matter, like, if it was like down here in Texas or California or Washington State or Montana. People just came to rescue people and to be there for people. And it's amazing to me that during that kind of trauma that people come together
From all over.
and from all over.
So I was driving down the highway. I believe it was July 5th. Anyway, I could be wrong. And I saw a truck carrying two boats, and then on the side of the truck, and I decided to video it. I've got it on my TikTok. I decided to record it because I was like, this is crazy. It was a truck pulling two boats, and it said Missouri Task Force. And I was like, yes, they're coming to help. They were heading that direction. And then there was another truck that had a big, I believe probably like an excavator. I don't even know if that's the right word. No, like the debris collectors, those big machines that collect.
Correct us if we're wrong.
Yes, excavator. I don't know. Or some kind of big. Anyway, they were coming down 35 going south, and I was just so happy. I posted it. It got, I think, many views.
I think you told me it had got like thousands and thousands of views.
Yeah. People were super excited about just like you said, everyone coming from
different parts
of the country to help. No one saying, anything.
I get chills when I hear that. Mm-hmm. It makes me happy to hear that people are coming and helping, and it doesn't matter how we help, even the smallest thing, no matter what it is. If you know somebody that has been affected by that tragedy, reach out to them. Even if you text them and they don't text back, it's okay. Let them know that you're thinking of them, that you're praying for them, that you're loving on them, and leave it at that. And if they don't respond for a month, then that's okay. But let them know that you're there for them. But this is just amazing. Well, it looks like our time is, oh no, not yet. I'm still new at this, so please forgive me. I was looking at the wrong time.
It's okay.
We're almost there though. We're almost coming to the 30-minute mark.
So yeah, if anybody can still help, there's different groups and organizations. The Samaritan's Purse, I think, is that what it is? The Samaritan's Purse?
I don't know, but you know what we can do
Many-
is we can list some at the
Right.
end that
Many
you can.
different organizations that you can call, and you can get on a volunteer list. I wouldn't just show up. My sister got to travel there to help out. So there's many ways that you can help, not just sending, if all you do is pray and send your money, that's a good thing. So here we are.
Yeah, there we are. There's the
Please
music.
come back.
Yay.
We want to invite you to share this podcast.
Yes,
Please join us in a few minutes.
Yes, see you back soon.
Let's be honest, wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair. The world's lightest wheelchair is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. 800-823-5826. That's 800-823-5826.
If you are trying to quit drinking or doing too many drugs, listen to me. You don't know me and we'll never meet. I had a problem like you once. I drank and used to party a little too much till it got out of control and almost ruined my life. I realized I needed help to fix my problem before it totally destroyed me. If you've tried to fix your drinking and drug problem and you know you can't do it alone, you need to call the National Treatment Advisors. They'll immerse you into a 30-day program to replace your old habits with new habits and totally change your life. And if you have PPO private health insurance, the entire program may be covered. Fix your problem right now before it gets any worse. Get clean. Call now and learn more. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581. 877-247-1581.
Welcome back. I'm Sonia V.
I'm Iguaran.
I love when she says her name.
I'm not hearing the music, so we may have to.
I think I just heard it.
Okay.
Oh, golly. Well, we have some commercials that Eva's going to read tonight because we take turns every week doing it, even though she doesn't like it.
No, I'm actually waiting.
You're waiting?
Yeah, we did not hear the music, so.
I thought I heard it.
Okay, well, here we go. I will start this. North Texas Radio proudly serves all of North Texas and can be heard all over the world on the TuneIn Radio Network and on the North Texas Radio app, available on Android and Apple CarPlay, or just ask Alexa to play North Texas Radio. Check out our lineup and more, northtexasradio.com. We thank our valued sponsors in helping us amplify the voices of North Texas communities and businesses. So protect your family with a will or trust. Connect with Todd Hurd and Associates, attorney at law for all your civil law needs. TexasAttorneyLaw.com. Processing credit cards. Join the Swipe Nation today and save on processing fees. SwipeNationUSA.com. Locally owned and operated and will beat any rates. Got sleeves, dress your arms, and more. The Tiffy sleeve, the Tiffy.com for women's accessories and more, made in the USA. And it's time to take your business to the next level. Hosting a radio show and podcast is a powerful way to connect with a wide audience, build brand awareness, drive sales. Let's discuss your business goals and how a custom show can help you achieve them. Email Tiffany at t.herd@ntxradio.com to get amplified.
To get amplified. So, welcome back. We have been talking about the tragedy in Kerr County that happened on July 4th. And the common thread that we have is that when tragedy strikes, we come together. People instinctively reach out to help, driven by empathy. Empathy is not just it's a descriptive word, but it also is an action. So empathy causes you to do something, to move, to do something. It says when Jesus saw the people suffering, that he was moved with compassion, and that compassion moved him to help them, to feed them. He didn't look at only their spiritual needs, but he also looked at their practical needs. They were hungry, to feed them, to give them water when they were thirsty. So, when you meet someone's physical needs, they'll listen to you because it shows that you actually care. And we have seen that with this tragedy, that people have come from near and far to help out. You were just sharing from Missouri, that truck, and I know you showed me the video, and that was awesome. Well, we want to kind of take a moment to take the next 20 minutes or so to dive into the Bible and see what the Bible says about this. And because, our podcast is a Christian podcast, but we want to reach all people. And we believe that the Bible has a lot to say about empathy and how to carry each other's burdens and how to be there for one another. And one of the verses that are here that I chose is Galatians 6:2. It says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. So I thought, what is the law of Christ? When you think of that, Eva, what do you think of the law of Christ?
I think of the 10 Commandments, but more specifically, the first two, where it says to love God and to also love your neighbor.
So the commandments, because Jesus asked the lawyer, or he was a lawyer, what is the greatest commandment? Because he wanted to follow Jesus. He said he wanted to follow Jesus, and he had, a lot of knowledge. He was very smart, had lots of money, and he said, I've done all the right things. I've always been faithful. I've always been obedient. I've followed all the commandments. And when he said, what else do I need to do to be saved? He said, well, the first 4 commandments, he didn't say it like this, but he said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might, and love your neighbor as yourself. These are the greatest 2 commandments. So the first 4 commandments are towards God. Interestingly enough, the last 6, there's more towards fellow man than it is towards God. And so love your neighbor as yourself. And I thought, that's important to God. Because if we can't love our neighbor who we can see, the Bible says, how do we love God? We can't. Because if you can't love someone you can't see, if you can't love someone, I can see you. But if I can't love you, I can't love God. And so for me, that's crucial. And
how can we practice loving our neighbor?
Well, it's not easy because sometimes, it's hard to. Sometimes, we've become very isolated. I think we've talked about that already. And it's easy to be in our home or by ourselves, because when we have to deal with ourselves, we can figure out how to do that. But dealing with other people can be challenging at times. And so really, in all honesty, I don't have the answers. All I know is that it's really the work of the Holy Spirit, because I ask the Lord every day, help me.
It's really hard
It
to love
is.
others.
It is. Especially when, you don't agree with someone, or, you know, someone made you mad because there's a miscommunication of some sort, or whatever the thing is that's causing that. But, love is the motive. And I'm going to read, because we're talking about love, and I'm going to read from
The love
first
chapter?
the love chapter. Yeah, because that's one of my favorite chapters. Look, it's funny because I'm typing it in, and it says the first one that comes up is 1 Corinthians 13. It's like she knows what I'm going to type. That's kind of scary. But I'm going to read from the NIV version. It says, "If I speak in the tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. If I have the gift of prophecy and can fathom all mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have a faith that can move mountains, but do not have love, I am nothing. If I give all I possess to the poor, give over my body to hardship that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. I'm sorry. For some reason, it doesn't want to. There we go. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. But where there are prophecies, they will cease. Where there are tongues, they will be stilled. Where there is knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part and we prophesy in part. But when completeness comes, what is in part disappears. When I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, and reasoned like a child. But when I became a man, I put childish things behind me. For now we see only a reflection as in a mirror, then we shall see face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I am fully known. And this is my favorite part. And now these three remain: faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. So, my take from this is love should be the underlying motive in everything we do. So, when we see somebody hurting, we want that love that we have inside of us, even if we don't know them. I mean, look, when we see tragedy happen, I remember, like, even though I was there at the World Trade Center, I mean, I wasn't there, but I was in Manhattan when it happened, and we didn't go to work the rest of the week. But I remember watching the videos over and over, and at a certain point, I had to turn it off. I'm like, I can't keep doing this, and it was just traumatic. And I remember because I worked in the World Trade Center at some point, and I was there for a few months, and I kept thinking about the people I worked with that were there, and I wondered because I didn't really keep in touch with them after that, and wondered what happened to them. And although I wasn't like tight with them, the thought of them dying was painful to me. And for me, this chapter, the love chapter, should be our motto. We need to love, and our motive should always be love. And I don't have the magic trick. All I know is that prayer, we ask the Lord to help us with that, because I can't manifest love on my own. I'm human, and it doesn't matter what your profession is. We're all human, and loving sometimes can be challenging and difficult.
Well, I was thinking about that verse where Jesus says, like, you did all these things in my name,
Mm,
but yet I don't know you. I don't know who you are.
mm,
So I think we can busy ourselves with doing all these things and being helpful. We can do many things to help others. But if we don't have that love, if it doesn't stem from the love that God pours into us to give to others, then what would it be for? And I think people can see too the difference when you're
Genuine.
genuine, yes, and when you're working from a heart that cares and a heart that's empathetic and loving, all those things.
Opposed to I'm just doing a deed because of X other reasons. I'm here because I don't know, like somebody needs to get a credit for class or whatever the thing may be. I remember one time I was in a room with a patient and, he didn't know me and he shared a whole lot of stuff. And I said, you don't even know me. And I appreciate you sharing your heart with me. And he said, and this is a man, right? This is not even a woman that is sharing all this information with me. And he said, you're just so easy to talk to. And I said, well, what makes me easy to talk to? And he's like, because I can tell that you're here, like you're present with me. And that you're not just trying to rush out of the room just to say, I saw a patient today. And so, people can tell when we're genuine. And we can tell that in this tragedy that happened on July 4th, that people were there to rescue. And like that guy, 165 people, to me, that's amazing. And, he's putting his own life in danger for that. And, because although he is a rescue swimmer, he's not God. And he could, something could happen to him.
There were complete houses and trailers and cars floating in the river.
Wow.
So to dodge all these things coming at you, I mean, to be a rescue swimmer.
Wow. I mean, that's amazing to me.
So he has to have, I would like to believe that he has love in his heart for people.
And that's a calling.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's a calling. So the fact that he's doing that, because I haven't heard too many rescue. I mean, you hear it lifeguards, obviously, but I mean, a rescue swimmer, that's a whole nother level. I mean, you're going to like tragic events like this and seeing probably seeing even a lot of death.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard. But, the Bible says, beloved, let us love one another, for love is from God, and whoever loves has been born of God and knows God. So love comes from God. And I ask the Lord every day to help me to love better, to love more, and don't sweat the small stuff. If they messed up my drink at Starbucks or Dunkin' Donuts or whatever other place I get coffee from, it's okay. It doesn't matter at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But this stuff matters because this affects lives forever. The parents that lost their kids, the wives that lost their husbands, the husbands that lost their wives, grandparents, parents, nephews, nieces, cousins, friends. When you lose somebody, it changes your life forever. My coffee getting messed up at Starbucks, that doesn't matter. In 5 years, I won't even remember. But I'll remember that in 5 years. Because trust and believe, I lost a husband and I lost a son. I still remember that. That's going to affect me for the rest of my days. So this tragedy has touched a lot of people. And it says over 130 people died statewide with more than 106 deaths in Kerr County alone. Multiply that by how many family members that is. That's a lot of families that have been affected by that. Like each grandparent,
Mm-hmm.
each parent,
Mm-hmm.
each auntie, each uncle, each cousin, each whatever, friends. Multiply that by all those people. That's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have been affected by that. And so stuff like this should change us for the better, in the sense of when we see humanity being affected, it should touch our hearts like it touches God's heart.
And I said I wasn't going to bring this up, but just to touch on it, we mentioned at the very beginning, color, race, how much money you earn shouldn't come into that equation. Somehow it did this time around. Somehow politics was thrown in, and I like Matthew 25:40. It says, "Truly I tell you, whoever you did this for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me." And least is the key here.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need to look at, it's the situation. We don't need to look at the details of, you know, how much money these families were making to send their kids to camp. On that note, side note, one of my friends posted that she was, and I will say acquaintance, friend, Facebook friend, was going to send her daughter to the camp and didn't. She had a scholarship. So sometimes you can't judge how much money it costs to send your kid to that camp when you don't know the percentage of kids that are getting financial help to go to that camp.
Right, right.
So all these things shouldn't be the first reaction. Love should be the first reaction. Love should be the
Right.
first response.
That's unfortunate, though, that we make those judgment calls on people because we don't really know their situation. We don't know if they got help to go there. You know, we don't know, and it doesn't matter.
There's so much that we don't know that we possibly can't know about the ins and outs of just everything that has been discussed. Even the, you know, whether they heard the warning or they didn't. Some may have been walkie-talkie, you know, they may have had a walkie-talkie and somebody may have said, "Hey, we need to go to higher ground." There may have been so many without phones, like I mentioned. But everyone had life, and all life is valuable. From the oldest person who was the camp director to the youngest camper to the young baby that I heard about that the dad tried to rescue his family and lost his 2 children, one of them being a young toddler. Every life is important.
You know, as when we're thinking about people judging in these cases, like, you know, maybe I'm sure people have said things that they shouldn't be saying. You know, it really doesn't matter. None of these things matter. You know, I know the Bible says we don't fight against flesh and blood, but we fight against the evil principalities of this earth. Again, I don't have the answers and why these things happen because it's not fair. And I'm going to say it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So we shouldn't, you know, for me, in the end, I'm not trying to be right. I don't want to be right. I want to be more compassionate. I know on my deathbed, I'm going to think about how many lives I've affected by my compassion and love, not how many times I got something right or I proved my point. It doesn't matter conspiracy theories or, you know, did they get warnings or not? None of that matters.
Mm-mm.
Lives were affected by this. And I don't think the parents and the family members that appreciate that part of it, because I know that especially when I was really in my grief, like in the sense of raw in my grief, and these families are raw in their grief, you don't have a filter. Well, you can kind of go both ways. You can have a filter, or you have no strength to defend yourself. So I had days that I had no filter, and then I had days that I just couldn't say anything because I had no strength to defend myself. So just be empathetic. Don't, you know, don't try to make points. If you know any of these people, just be there for them and hug on them. However they need assistance and help. And I know that they can use a lot of prayer, but just be there for them. That's the most important thing.
So during your great loss of your husband and your son, what were things that people did that you felt were loving and compassionate?
Oh, validating my feelings. Never telling me I shouldn't feel this way. I think that was my biggest, and that still is my biggest pet peeve. when somebody said, well, you shouldn't feel this way. I shouldn't.
And how long are these families allowed to grieve?
Well, you know, they're never going to get over this.
Right.
Right.
I just wanted to ask because I know this is what you do.
They're never going to get over this. Now, they say statistically, I don't know where the statistics come from, but most people, their raw grief is about 2 years. But those that have lost a child, it could be 5 to 10 years. And now that does not mean that they're over it. It just means the rawness of it is subsiding a little. I mean, I'm almost at 10 years. In January will be 10 years since my son is gone. I still have my moments that I cry. But they're not, they're never going to be over it. They're just going to learn how to cope with it, because that's what you do with grief. You just learn how to cope, and you find people to help you along the way to help you with that, to carry you. It makes me think of when we're thinking about a common thread. We walk alongside people and carry their burdens, because that's what that says. That for every first verse, Galatians 6:2 says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. It makes me think of the story of Simon of Cyrene. Simon of Cyrene has a very small part in the Bible, but very significant. He was just watching Jesus carry the cross. And Jesus had been whipped. He had put, he had the crowns on so he's bleeding from his forehead. And one of the Roman soldiers said, hey, you, come over here. Come and carry this cross. Because they knew that Jesus wasn't going to be able to carry it all the way to the end and live. But they wanted to kill him on the cross. Make sense of that. I don't know. But anyway. Mm-hmm. So he carried it. That wasn't the plan for him that day. He was just like, I'm just coming to watch. And he probably heard about Jesus. Anyway, he carried the cross to the hill and then gave the cross back to Jesus. Because it wasn't his mission to hang on the cross. It was Jesus's mission to do that. But it makes me think that was just a short, I don't know how long he carried the cross for, but can you imagine how heavy that thing is? So it wasn't probably like 20 minutes. I'm sure it was at least an hour or two, because I don't know how long the distance was. But he carried that to lighten the burden for Jesus. And that's what we're meant to do. Because I knew that in my deepest grief that people were not going to be able to take my pain away completely, but it felt lighter. And if we can do that for these families, make it lighter and not make them feel judged, or they have to feel a certain way or get over it or have more faith. As Christians, sometimes we say things we shouldn't say, and that's another podcast. Mm-hmm. But in the meanwhile, I think the most important thing is to just be present with these families and show them empathy, love, compassion, a listening ear. The one thing in chaplaincy that we do that we call the ministry of presence. We live in a world that we do so much. We're always doing. Sometimes it's nice just to be. And that's it. Be with a period at the end. B-E, period. In those moments when people were just with me, they didn't say anything, were probably the moments that I appreciated the most, because they didn't try to fix me. So I'll give you the mic.
Our prayers go out to the families that were affected.
Yes.
Our prayers, we also want to put action there. So after the show, we will try to put a few different organizations that you can reach out to in Kerrville. Like I said, Gideon Rescue is one of those that you might be able to contact. There's a lot of different places. So,
yeah. Well, like we always end our podcast with, don't give up. Hold on to Jesus.
Keep looking up.
See you next week.
Is the voice of Johnson County, JOCO Community Radio.